Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of scouting, evaluating, maybe some player development. I know the organization pretty deeply from all my time and years around the team here, but it's probably over the years or over the next few weeks, it's going to increase. I'm not sure yet at this point how deep it's going to go, but I from what I was told, expect to be more and more involved as time goes on.
Does that include very high draft pick?
Yeah, that's the plan. For us, with the situation we're in, unfortunately, with the way the season has gone, the focus coming up will be what we decide to do at the trade deadline. So that'll be the first focus coming up shortly. Then, reshift maybe a little bit more towards amateur draft coming, and the position we're in. Again, it's unfortunate right now, but it might be an opportunity that we have to take advantage of. So we got to be prepared for that. And yeah, that'll be probably the next step after the trade deadline. I would say that probably forced me to have, a better vision of the way I see things. Building an organization, from all aspects, but at the same time, the situation that I'm coming in here with the people that are already in place that I'll be working closely with when I think of obviously Dave Scott and Chuck Fletcher, but also Brent Flair and Barry Hanrahan, who have been in those positions for years. They have a lot of experience. It's a pretty cool situation for someone who's starting kind of in the business. So I feel we're very, very fortunate to have people that have all that experience around me. Yeah.
What did you get from that experience that maybe will help you dedicate more on?
I think more and more we're seeing that the business side and the hockey side collapse more and more moving forward. That's just reality of how it is in today's game. It's important, and you look at how the players now, like all the revenues are tied to the players' contracts. So it's more important, it's more critical. I think it's going to keep expanding and growing. So for my own development, understanding, I remember when I stepped off the ice, I had no idea, all that it entailed on the business side. I had no clue at the time, 7 years ago, all the work that was done on the business side. So it opened my eyes. I think it was a great experience. And I had the chance to practice it, not just learn it, but also, really experience it with the Mariners and in overseeing it and then making tough decisions at time on the business side. So that experience alone, I think, was good for my development. There's a lot of people. It started with Paul Holmgren bringing me aboard, along with Sean Tilger, and then Valerie believing in me to keep doing that. Mike Shane has been great in teaching me the last few years. I had a lot of help from Adam Goldberg in Maine, and that's one thing I want to say is our staff in Maine in this last season, we've grown revenue in our season ticket base by up to 25, maybe even more %. So our staff there has been tremendous in making me look good. So I definitely want to give a shout out to them for all the work they've done. I played here. I had a lot of success with the Flyers, along with Buffalo were probably the two teams where I spent the most time. And, when I retired, this became home. The family, the kids love it here. We made it our home. I was very fortunate that I was able to get involved here with this organization. I got to know a lot of people from the business side and the hockey side, a lot of people, from the players, from juniors to the ECHL, American League, and the NHL. So I know from top down the people in the organization. That makes it a lot easier. I don't have to move. I'm staying home. I keep working for an organization that I love, and where I had a lot of success. So it couldn't be a better setup, honestly.
And what do you think is what are the biggest needs? Speed? Is it talent? Is it toughness? And do you think it'll take a while to get this?
That's a good question, and it's tough to tell, how long it can take for that turnaround. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see the turnaround starting tonight. Being realistic, it might be next year or the following year. Who knows? I think there's a lot that comes into play. So let's say we become, and we don't make a push here to make the playoffs, and we become sellers. Well, it depends who's available to sell at the deadline, and it also depends what's available on the other side of the table. When you get draft pick, it might take a little longer. If you get guys that are coming in the lineup right away to help you out, that might rush it a little bit more. So it's tough to tell at this point. But one thing I know is that there's a lot of good players, and I don't think we're a team that's as bad as what the standings are showing at this point. And when you just look at the beginning of the year, I mean, we were supposed to have Couturier, Hayes, Brassard, and Brown as our number 1 through 4 centermen. And how many of those games have these players played? We've pretty much lost our top 4 centermen to start the year. So that puts us in a tough position. And that's where I believe we're definitely not as bad as what's it's showing on paper.
What do you see as the biggest needs?
I agree with Chuck when he said high-end talent, difference makers that can, on a nightly basis, come in. And obviously Coots, not being there really hurts. G has pulled more than his weight, and he's been awesome. But they need they'll need support. And that's another key, like the development of some of those guys. Tyson Forster, I believe eventually could be a great player for us. But there's a lot of guys that you're waiting to see how they develop, and that's going to be critical for the Flyers' future. Bobby Brink is having a great season. Sami Tuomala that we drafted last year showed some great promise about being a kid that can make a difference. Aid Wisdom, Morgan Frost. We've seen him here. He's going in the right direction. But he's got to keep doing it. And on defense, we're seeing Cam York play more and more minutes. I think he's going to get better. But at the end of the day, it's going to, the development of all those young kids are going to make it or not for the future of the Flyers.
For a few years, we looked at farm system, Flyers are always right at the top, or group of the top players. Where guys were at the end of their junior career, junior, college, and something.
Yeah.
They're right where you wanted them to be. How much of it is the injuries? How much of it is just the cycle of development?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, and I think it starts from us, from the management side, and making sure they go in the right direction. We have to help them out, take the next step and become difference makers. So that's definitely an area that I believe we can do a better job, and we'll have to do a better job to get the Flyers where they belong.
You said that you don't believe that the team is when you signed in Philadelphia back in 2007, after a disappointing season, good year reached the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you see some parallels from the team that you joined, and they can come out next year?
I certainly hope so. I remember when I signed that year, I think the Flyers were last the previous season, and it looked pretty bleak. But, you know, sometimes you got to look a little deeper and find the positive. And at the time, I believed in what Paul Holmgren was doing. I believed in the players that were in the system, you know, coming up. I thought it was a team that was being built for the future, not just for a year or two. And that's why I was so interested in joining the Flyers back then. So hopefully we can have that same kind of turnaround. And